Selected Reptiles works with a wide range of genetic combos, including Hypo-VPI Xanthic, DG-VPI Xanthic, and Zebra, but where they stand out is their work with Monsoon, Monarch, Sunset, and other high-end morphs. In addition to reptiles, they produce premium feeder rodents, delivering to Florida, Georgia, and North and South Carolina. Make sure to use promo code WhiskeyBomb5 for 5% off any snake. Check them out on Wolf Market or reach out directly.
Thank you to all of the sponsors. We certainly appreciate each and every one of you, as well as everyone working behind the scenes on all of the shows, all of the podcasts that happen every day of the week here on the Whiskey Bomb Network. 7 days a week. You're not going to miss a thing. This is where you need to be. This is where you need to be. Spring Creek. Yes, you are a weekend warrior, and we do not want to leave you out as well. So thank you for being a weekend warrior. And everybody, join the network. Become a member. Cancel if you have cable. Cancel your cable subscriptions. Become a member of the network, and catch all of the action, because there's a lot going on. So much I can't even keep up. I can't even keep up. I'm not rushing you. I'm just acknowledging it. That's all. That's all. I didn't want him to go unacknowledged. Not rushing you. Oh, not me. Okay. Good. And why are you popping up like you're on everybody's channel? Love that. Well, we're gonna bring out today's guest. He is another keeper that I found on TikTok. And if a human being can be your spirit animal, he is mine, because he is living the life that I low-key want to live. If it weren't as messy and noisy, I would still not have as many as him, but I would still have a couple of parrots. But let's bring out our guest from Blue Planet Pets, Zeb. What is up, Zeb? How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
For those that are not familiar with you, can you give a brief introduction so they get to know who you are a little bit?
Yeah, so my name is Zeb Ernest. I do have a social media account called Blue Planet Pets. It started on accident on YouTube, kind of became something. I'm active on YouTube, just starting, so I haven't figured it out. But I primarily spend my time on TikTok and Facebook and a little bit of Instagram. I am a bird keeper. I've been at it for 23 years.
Nice.
I play a weird little line where I don't fit in. I'm not a breeder. I'm not quite a rescue. I like to just think of myself as a bird person. And
Sure.
I like sharing with people the reality of birds, not just the negative, both sides.
Yes. That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm trying to think back how old I was when I got my first parakeet. I was probably 15. I don't even think I was 15 yet. So I was probably younger than 15 when I got my first two parakeets. Then I moved up to cockatiels. Then I moved up to conures. Then I got a Goffin's cockatoo, and then ended up with African greys and a blue and gold macaw. So
Nice.
I miss them. They're very, very. I love their personalities and how intelligent they are.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear your experience with all that you have. And who do we have on your shoulder now?
This is Ladybird. Her real name's Lady Liberty, as she was hatched on the 4th of July.
Okay.
On 21 years ago.
Oh,
so
wow.
Lady was, I jokingly say, my first daughter, and she's going to buy me a drink this year. She's been with me through a lot of things. She's very unusual for her species, not typical for the reputation that the females get. But she's by far my favorite bird, though not my largest. She's definitely a family member, and I have an undying loyalty to this bird.
That is fantastic. Well, happy birthday early, Lady Bird. 21. That's awesome. Now, what type of parrot is she?
So she's an Eclectus parrot. She's a female, so the males are going to be green and the females are going to be red, and you can call it blue, you can call it purple. There's different subspecies, so there's some variation in size and coloring, but they're a very oddball parrot species, very different from others in a number of ways. Their behavior, their biology, they're very unique.
Well, I know one thing that's unique about them is their feathers. Their feathers aren't like normal parrots, correct?
Yeah, so they have a hair-like feather structure. So instead of having barbs that kind of zip the feathers together, they don't have that. They're just like furry little things, which means them would be painful. Although you can pet downward, you just can't go against the grain. Like a lot of birds really love that. Eclectus do not like that.
Well, we won't do that to you, lady. I believe since the males and females have different colors, when they were first discovered, they didn't realize they were the same species.
Yeah, they thought there were two different species, and one was much rarer, and that's because the females stay inside of a nest cavity. For most of their time. So the females were thought to be super rare. They really live in like the high end of the canopy. They eat a lot more fruit than other birds. And they also, not all of them, because again, they're subspecies, but they don't necessarily pair up. The females create a nest and the males come to court, and they just come and go. And they'll take care of each other's kids. It doesn't have to be their chick for them to feed it. So she kind of stays at home with the kids and has suitors that come and go.
Okay, so it literally takes a village.
It takes a village. So, that's why the females, they're uniquely colored that way. So it's kind of camouflage if you think about it. If you were to like look into it's not like a bird nest like what we would think of for maybe finches, right? They're in like hollowed out trees.
Yeah.
So that's camouflage. If they scoot to the back where it's darker, hopefully you wouldn't see her. So she's kind of naturally camouflaged for her job. And the males are camouflaged for their job, which is being up in the trees. So it's really
it is interesting. It's another part of nature that amazes me that works out as it should.
Yeah. They're a lot of people have troubles with them between like diet and behavior, and unfortunately sometimes things like feather plucking. Okay. And I will straight up say a lot of people say they want an Eclectus, but a lot of people that have them say that they're not good pets. Personally, I disagree. I've had multiple males, and she's the only female I've had out of respect for her, but she's been a perfect experience.
Yeah.
I've
heard mixed reviews on Eclectus. I kind of wanted one. Never ended up with one. What type of diet do they eat? Now you have different species, right?
Yeah. So we probably should have mentioned that earlier, right?
Yeah, that just clicked.
So I used to work in the pet industry. I loved it. It was my dream to be in the pet industry, even from a child. And we can go back to that later. But working in pet stores, people bring a lot of animals to you. So I kind of became a rescue of sorts. I was taking in birds, helping them out, and then rehoming them. And when you do that, really, when you're into birds at all, people just try to find homes for birds.
What's up, Eric?
So I've had a lot of birds. I currently have a flock of 42.
Wait, how many?
42.
Oh, wow. That's noisy. I'm not even going to say that's a lot. I'm just going to say that's noisy.
I mean, they're all in the house and you can't hear them right now.
This is true. This is very true.
It's noisy at times. at times. And everybody does it differently. I have, I'm probably right now, people would probably think of me when they think of macaws or golden conures, or ladybird, but I have a variety, right? I've got parrotlets that are that big, and then I even have the world's largest species of parrot, which are hyacinths.
Which is my obsession.
Yes, and I can go get one if we want to switch it up today, but I had to start with my favorite.
Well, we do have time, and I will want to see one of the Eclectus. Oh, and we're on my channel today. Thank you, Keisha. I did not realize that. Well, head on over there if you're watching here on the Whiskey Bomb Network. Head on over to my channel. Leave a comment. I can try. Let me get in there, and if you're not already blue, I'll try to make you blue. But make sure you like it over there as well. I didn't realize that. That's fun. Now I had a question for you. Oh, Jay had a question. Where are they from? And that I forget. I don't remember where they're from. The Eclectus parrots.
Yeah, so they're from the surrounding areas of Australia, right? Okay. So a lot of people like to think of them as Australian, and again, there's subspecies. I think it's 7 or 8 subspecies. But like the Solomon Islands, the Solomon Island Eclectus is really popular, and a lot of the Eclectus you'll see in the U.S. at least are Solomon Island birds. There's also specialization because people just didn't know. Lady is a red-sided Eclectus, so she's not. Excuse me for saying it. She's not as brightly colored as some of the other females are. She's got more of a maroon color, and she's an extra burst of color there at the bottom of her tail feathers, but she's significantly larger. So I know people can't really tell, size on the internet, but female Eclectus are typically small. She is a rather large hen. She weighs, on average, 420 grams.
Okay.
And I guess I could use a phone, right? So
hi, Lauren.
Here's an iPhone as a reference point. So I think her temperament has to do with the subspecies a lot, actually. Okay. But yeah,
she is gorgeous. I see now. You're making me want one again. I can't do that. I need not to do that.
There's a lot of birds out in rescues that need homes, so that's what I'm here for. I'm here to try to fix that problem.
There's a lot of animals in general that need homes, but yes, there are a lot of birds that need to be rescued and need homes. I was in a Facebook group years ago when I got into parrots, and I think the lady that ran the group, she rescued a lot of parrots. She's down in Maryland and rescued a lot of parrots. Yeah, it's there. Elias, you treat me. How's that? You treat me. You treat me. Oh, thank you, Unlocked. I will subscribe back later. I promise. I had another question and I lost it. You had mentioned golden conures, and that's actually one of the birds that's in the thumbnail. Yeah, I've never seen a golden conure in person. I've just seen them in pictures and in videos. Bear, that's an Eclectus parrot. Tell me about the golden conures.
Okay, so golden conures, I'm not surprised to hear that you haven't seen one. They are my dream bird. No offense, lady. I like you for your personality, but as a species, right? As a species, they were like my dream bird. And I learned about them in a book when I was getting to adopt my first bird. And I just saw a picture, just one picture. Yellow being my favorite color, I was hooked. And I didn't see one for, I think, 21 years into aviculture.
Oh, wow.
Reason for that, and it's changed in recent years, but because of their status, like as a not endangered species, but critical species, it was illegal to engage in interstate commerce. So you literally couldn't buy, or if you were a breeder, you couldn't get them across state lines without going through a lengthy and expensive paperwork process that wasn't guaranteed to work. So we really only saw them in states like Florida, California, Illinois, maybe a few others. I think there were 5 states that had golden conures. And also not many of them made it into the U.S. before importation of birds became illegal in 1992. So they were a very niche thing. They were very expensive, especially for the bird, the size of bird they are. Yes. So demand probably wasn't there. But thanks to the American Federation of Aviculture, which, works with groups like Cavalry Group, which I know is important for keepers, they made a case and we got the laws changed, which is really amazing because the laws no longer served us and didn't make sense, but they were never going to change until somebody worked on it. So now golden conures are becoming more popular, especially because of social media. I might have a little bit I might have a little bit to do with that, right? Because people see them and they are charming. They're so charming, though they are.
Shout out Elias.
Golden conures are still my dream bird, and it's one of those things where I only need one ladybird, but I'll probably take every golden conure.
And I don't blame you for taking every golden conure. When I see your videos with you and they're all over you, and they're very entertaining little birds.
They are. They're the largest of the conures.
Mine too, BF.
But they probably should be macaws. Their closest genetic relative are actually macaws.
Okay.
And I think we're finding that most conures are really more closely related to macaws anyways.
Oh, Larry, thank
Their
you.
behavior is very macaw-like. They're very funny.
Shout out to Lindworm Exotics, another weekend warrior. All the weekend warriors are here today. I need to become a weekend warrior. Look at me over here slacking. Yeah, they do look like. There you go, Spring Creek. There we go. Shout out, weekend warrior. They do look like mini macaws, and more so than conures do. Mm-hmm. I had a blue crown conure, and they were very loud.
Yeah, I mean, there's different types of conures, but one thing they all share is they're all loud. The problem is the tone. The pitch just drives some people crazy.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, like sun conures, Nande conures, and golden conures, it doesn't bother my ears. I know it drives some people nuts, and that's one reason why a lot of people don't keep them. Mm-hmm. But we all have preferences.
We do. And Bear, he has a couple of conures, and now he's adding golden conure to the list. Did you go to look them up, or do we need Zeb to grab one so you can see what they look like in person? But yes, golden conures are neat. Hold on one second. Amazon is at the door, and the dogs are going to go nuts. And they didn't. Thank you. Appreciate you. You hear your son. You grew up with a Nande conure after your macaw passed. Oh, maroon belly. They're cute. They were cute. Yes, definitely a clown. And the the golden conures that Zeb has, they're clowns. They're pretty funny.
There's a lot of variety in the conure world. Like sun conures and Nandes are Arantingas, but the maroon belly would be a Payura. And even it's weird to call them both conures because I guess the truth of being with them and even just their biology to me is very different. I think there's a good case for some changes to taxonomy there.
Well, we'll have to look into that. See what we can do about that. All right. I think I got everybody on my channel. Thank you all for tuning in. We certainly appreciate you. Make sure you're hitting that like button. All the likes for Miss Ladybird. Throw in some whiskey bombs in the chat for Miss Ladybird too. Look at how gorgeous she is. She is a pretty girl.
One of the cool things about Eclectus is their shoulder, which you don't see it often. But that Superman color there?
That's a very vibrant blue. I like that.
Yeah, that's the best part. Good girl.
Yeah, she is a gorgeous girl. She is a gorgeous girl. And for those that have missed it, she's going to turn 21 in a few days.
Yep.
And how long do Eclectus live?
Well, that's a good question. The data that we have is pretty old, and the way we used to keep birds in decades past has greatly improved. I mentioned the Eclectus are a little more sensitive. Their diets are a little different.
So that's where we were going. Okay, go ahead. So I'm sorry.
In the past, they didn't live that long because we weren't taking great care of them. But modern day, we're in the middle of finding out. I think that the answer is going to be similar to other birds her size. 40 to 50 is achievable.
Okay.
Now, in the past, there was a study done, and I want to think it was a German zoo. They had put 25 years, which, you know, on an all-seed diet, I could see that happening. That would be a terrible idea for Eclectus. But I think, you know, people often over-exaggerate the lifespan of parrots, but 40 to 50 is possible for these guys.
Okay. That's not bad. So with such a variety of birds, I'm sure they're not all eating the same thing.
No, they're not. Couldn't be easy.
What's that?
It couldn't be easy.
No. So what types of food do you feed?
Well, diet is a huge conversation. It's actually one of the big fights in the bird world, right? So kind of like I remember back in my time with reptile keeping, people would argue about like sand substrate versus carpet for leopard geckos.
Yeah.
That's what bird food is for bird people. So first of all, I do feed pellet. Some people are against that, but I feed a pellet. I just make sure that it is a non-colored pellet and it's a good quality. Most are good quality now, so it just depends on, you know, what you need. Seed is still a valid food, but there's different kinds of seeds. So the problem is most people get like a junk seed mix that has like very heavy sunflower or peanuts, and there's a right way and a wrong way to use each of those ingredients. So what I'll tell you is I probably stock 4 different seed mixes. And I stock pellet, but in different versions, right? So there's an alternative blend for some of the sensitive birds or the seniors. And then there's a regular blend for everybody else. I have a wide variety of nuts. I probably stock 6 different kinds of nuts at all times. And then there's fresh food. The problem with fresh food is there's a preference for birds of what they will eat and won't eat. And I spend a lot of money on food for these guys.
Yes.
So I kind of treat it like Taco Bell. It's all the same stuff. It's just a difference of how it's arranged. So, you know, instead of making one big batch of things and putting it out there, you know, I kind of go to each bird's cage and give them what they need in the moment.
Okay. That makes sense. I used to every morning make scrambled eggs for mine.
Yeah. You know, that's another thing too, like different birds just need different things. I hate to say it, but scrambled eggs for an Eclectus would be really bad. It would give them heart disease.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, but there are other birds that could handle it. And, you know, there's going to be some people that say, hey, I've fed it to my bird and it's not been an issue. Right. It's just one of those things. Eclectus have really long intestinal tracts, which means they digest things differently, which also means they don't do very well with food items like egg or seed.
Larry says, if it's not nanners, get that stuff out of there. And BF asked, so is the rule, the larger the bird, the longer the life?
Somewhat. Ironically, though, so when we look at the hyacinth macaws, which are the biggest parrot species, they remind me a lot of like big dog breeds. You know how Great Danes kind of have shorter lifespans, usually because they have a lot of heart issues. We can see the same thing in hyacinths. Okay. So I would say, a lovebird, which is very small, very accessible, if you take good care of them, I mean, 12 is normal, but 20 is possible. Okay. So anywhere from 12 to 20 years. When you get a cockatiel, most people's cockatiels don't make it past 20 to 25.
Right.
Medium-sized birds like her, 40 to 50 is average. And there are absolutely larger birds, especially those big white cockatoos. Yeah, they're getting into their 60s and 70s. And yes, there are some really unique individuals that have made it into their 90s and above.
Wow.
I have seen those birds, and I can tell you the age is real, and I don't know if they're enjoying life anymore. They're doing great, but they are super seniors.
Yeah. Oh, I can imagine. Do you have cockatoos, right?
I do. I have a few cockatoos. I have 3. Not many, because the dust is an issue, and I can't mix them with my other birds.
Right.
But I do enjoy, and I do have cockatoos.
Nice. What kind?
So I've got an Eleonora, which is basically a sulfur-crested cockatoo, but there's a lot of variations in those. I do have a Goffins. And then I have a rose-breasted, or you might call it a galah, which is pink. And then I haven't done a Meet the Flock series for it yet. He's actually been with me for a few months. I don't know if I could say the rarest, but definitely critically endangered. I have a red vent cockatoo now as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he appears to be a retired breeder that's no longer viable.
Okay.
So, he's seeking retirement with me. I've never seen one before him. It's pretty interesting.
That's awesome. Yeah, I miss my Goffins. She, out of all of the birds that I've had, she's probably my favorite. I had her when I still lived at home with my parents, and her cage was on the other side of my bedroom. And I would let her out, and she would sit on top of her cage. And when I would call to her, she would climb down her cage, hop down on the floor, hobble across the floor, and climb up my bed. And no other bird ever did that.
I often say I think they're underrated. And when people ask about like pet quality, like a family bird, I mean, I've had so many, I've seen so many Goffins that fit that. They might not be the flashiest bird or the most colorful bird, but in terms of personality and also intelligence, a lot of people say African Greys are the most intelligent. I don't know. I think those Goffins probably have a leg up.
I would agree. None of my Greys ever came over to me when I called to them. Although my one Grey, she would. I was in the kitchen making dinner or something, and she was on her playpen, and she would just keep repeating, "Hey you, hey you, hey you," and I wouldn't answer her. And next thing I know, she's on my shoulder. She flew from my living room to the kitchen to me. So,
yeah, they're great flyers too.
Yes.
Super talented flyers.
Yes, she was good. Hey, Rudy, thank you for joining us. Appreciate you. What bird would you recommend for a beginner? That's a very good question, Jay.
Yeah. So that's easily the most common question I get. And it's complicated because I say it really depends on you as a person. Like if you're only going to have one bird, I don't think birds are like starter animals, right? So you're not going to get a cockatiel and then have it for a while and get rid of it because you upgraded to something harder. So, I think there are people out there that are just a good fit for some species, depending on their personality. Now, I would say there's red flag species, right? There's ones that that's going to give the average person a lot of trouble. And then there's ones that most people do really well with. So I'll answer it like that. I think that cockatiels and, sun conures or green cheek conures, And personally, I think lovebirds. That's a hot take. I think most people do really well with those.
And those are, I would say, they're good starters. Bear would disagree on the sun conure, but you have your.
And here's why most people say not the sun conure, because of the noise thing. And so that's the thing. If you're really sensitive to noise, if that pitch is going to bother you, then that's not the right one. If you're if you're a wuss, if you don't like getting bit, don't get a green cheek. And I would say they're not real bites, but those are very chewy birds, right? So again, it goes back to the personality thing of like, what's important to you, and how can we make it work?
And I find it ironic. Most people here have snakes, and we deal with everybody not wanting to be bitten by a snake. That bird right there, as well as a lot of the others that we're talking about today, can do a lot more damage than any snake could with a bite.
Sure. Yeah. I used to keep reptiles too, and I worked in the pet stores too. So I was taking care of them at work and then at home. And you'd be surprised. I think the bigger birds often hurt less than those little guys, because sometimes they latch on and they gnaw and they hit the same spot over and over. So it'll shock you sometimes. A lot of people are afraid of big beaks, and I'll just put my hand right in there because I know how to handle it.
Yeah.
But like a budgie, those can hurt.
They can pinch. They pinch hard.
If they get you right in the nail bed too, that's like a sensitive spot.
Yes.
So hopefully we're respecting birds and listening to them to the point where they're not going to bite. I think that's another big thing. Lady has never bit me or anybody else in her entire life.
Nice.
And I can't promise that for birds in general, but I just want to point out that just because you have a bird doesn't mean it's going to bite. But it could.
Just like a snake.
Yeah. What's that phrase? Play stupid games and win stupid prizes.
That seems to be running rampant lately. Lots of stupid prizes going on. Lots of stupid prizes.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned earlier that you had gotten banned from TikTok. How does what's the word I'm looking for? I don't even know. You talk about birds. How do you get banned talking about birds off of TikTok?
Well, I think there's a few things that come into it. Number one is, animal rights people see a bird and then they just see red and they might report you for things, not understanding that the majority of my birds are rescues or adoptions, and they cannot be returned to the wild. So, I had been escalated, I would say, with the violations over time for things that really didn't make sense. But the biggest problem was that the algorithm doesn't understand context when we're talking about animals. So, for example, somebody says, "Well, how do you tell if it's a male or a female?" And I say, "Well, if you're gonna have accurate sexing, you'd have to go get a blood test. Well,
Right.
Blood trigger me for gore and violence, and sexing sounds like, I guess, something else." The last straw for me was I did make a fan about Only Feathers. That is
Wait a minute.
the way I own the domain. It's only-feathers.com, and I
Exactly, Larry.
somebody over there, and we
Has
lost
to clean her face somehow.
live on the main account.
What's up, Brandon? Only Feathers. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. And TikTok, lighten up. Lighten up. Life is too short to.
Now, to be fair, I was going live, probably 5 times a week for hours on end. And we had this little thing called Blue Planet Pets After Dark. Because I think people probably see my content and they see it as like family friendly. But I am not the person that you should leave on speakerphone. So,
Okay, right.
even though there are a lot of children and I respect that, there was, late night lives where we would probably be talking amongst adult friends. Certainly nothing that crazy, but
Yeah.
that probably didn't help me.
That's fair. That's fair. And it's funny. Brandon just reminded me there is a ball python breeder that's named Only Balls.
Nice.
Yes, Zeb would fit right in because we would all be banned. That's why we don't go live on TikTok. We would all be banned.
And then you've got your hens. Your females are hens, but your males are. Well, we better stick to calling
They
them.
sure
males.
are.
We better stick to calling them males instead.
See, that's a slippery slope. But
I'm trying to be accurate. I'm just trying to, be a professional.
yes, absolutely.
But here we are.
Here we are. And then here's Brandon. As Brandon has chickens. So
I thought he had a cockatoo.
Yeah, lady thought that was funny.
Yeah.
She is an awesome girl. I really enjoy watching her.
Yeah, she does some really fun stuff here at Flippy Bird. My tricks aren't very impressive, but sometimes, not having hair. All right, you don't want to. You got to respect her. If she doesn't want to stay there, she won't stay there.
Understood.
We're also really good at hot potato, which we did for a second before. Flippy Bird, hot potato, hot potato, hot potato, hot potato. Then we can rotate her. Oh yeah.
And that right there shows a lot of trust, because if she didn't trust you, she would not let you do that.
Yeah. I've got some birds that I do some silly things with, but again, it's because I've earned it.
That is awesome. Yes, Brandon, that is trust. Would you mind grabbing one of the hyacinths?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. Lady, thank you for being with us.
Well, here, you guys can babysit Lady for me.
Okay.
Make sure she behaves herself, okay?
Don't chew up the chair, lady. That's not a cheap chair. Lady's staying. She's going to hang out. What kind of bird is Lady? Lady is an Eclectus parrot. And if you look up Eclectus parrots, males and females are different. Females have the red head and tail and like blue on the body. Males are green. So they look completely different. They're really neat. And this right here is my ultimate dream parrot. Oh my goodness, look at that.
So this is Finn. Finn has his third
Finn.
birthday coming up next month. So it's a big month. Lady turns 21. Finn turns 3. He's still got some room to grow. He's a male, so he's going to get stronger and heavier and thicker.
Okay.
I do have 4 of these guys, which is incredible because it was my life dream to have one, and I never actually thought it would ever happen.
Yes.
And I haven't announced it to my followers yet, but Finn is actually mine now. He did belong to a friend, and he stayed with me a whole lot.
Oh, well, congratulations.
We're going through the process of he's a part of my flock now.
Yes. Yeah. And Chris, thank you for being here. That is a hyacinth macaw. That is the largest macaw. That is my favorite of all macaws. When I was getting my, and I can see that I'm frozen. There I go. I unfroze. All right. When I was getting my blue and gold macaw, I was getting her from a store in New Jersey called Bird Paradise. And I was hand feeding her, and at the same time there was a couple hand feeding their blue and gold macaw, and she was just such a sweetheart. Do you have an aviary outside? Brandon asked.
So I had I call it plaviary. So not something they live in full time. My birds are all indoors, and that's because I'm trying to protect them. Nothing wrong with having birds outdoors, but I do worry about things like that.
Right.
And predators. I live in an area that we've just got, from gators to armadillos.
Yeah.
So my plaviary, unfortunately, was destroyed during Hurricane Ian, though.
Oh, wow.
So
Sorry.
I've got big plans for something that's really awesome. That's a big improvement from there. So I can say right now, we've got a screened porch where the birds get their sun, and then I've got bird rooms in the house and bird trees all over the house, because obviously they're not caged birds. Each bird has a cage to go to for their safe place, especially like at night. But nobody really just lives their life stuck in a cage. They're all my friends.
Right.
So.
Right.
Yeah.
Jay said, you're pretty sure you saw that bird. That's what I saw in Peru. I don't think they're from Peru, are they?
So there's birds that look like hyacinths. It's possible. It's possible. The largest population of them is in Brazil.
Okay.
And then I don't want to be wrong. I don't want to say the wrong thing. There's 4 locations for hyacinths specifically. So let's say Brazil and near there. There's also the Lear's macaw looks very similar, and that's a endangered bird, but they do exist still.
Okay. And Brandon asked, do they talk? I'm sure he has some that talk.
They do. Birds can talk. You can't make them talk. Finn here actually talks a lot. Ladybird can talk as well. What's interesting, Finn has a very Muppet-like voice. It's very strange when he speaks because it seems like an alien. Where Lady can mimic my wife's voice perfectly to the point where I was in the room. So our house is really interesting because our birds are repeating things in my voice, my wife's voice, sometimes a child's voice. Yeah, you're never alone here.
And you never know who's speaking.
Yeah.
that could be trouble. And yes, Elias, that is a big head baby.
Yeah, so they're the largest species of parrot. I mean, technically, there is a species that weighs more, but they're compact.
Yes.
These guys are the biggest. They're not everybody gets the chance to feel them, but their heads are just so much wider at the jaw. That beak there is designed to open up like macadamia nuts, right? They do palm nuts. Specific palm nut is like the bulk of what they'll eat in the wild. But yeah, they can open things that no other animal can.
They're so fascinating. So fascinating. Who was typing? I don't know, Brandon. You got me lost. But if you're not watching from my channel, please head over there to like and leave a comment so I can make you a moderator if you're not already a moderator. So yeah, please head over there to watch from there and hit a like. But make sure you're liking here too before you leave. Don't leave here without liking. You said you have 4 of the hyacinths.
Yes, I do. I've got a senior hyacinth who is, he's a retired breeder and he's at the end stages of his life. He's rather frail, but an amazing personality. I've got another 25-year-old male. He was once in a zoo, but he's now a pet. He came to me after his owner was aging out of birds.
Okay.
And then I've got a female who some people know about. She's very small because she must have got sick at an early age of her life, and she's blind.
Oh my goodness!
And she is just the sweetest bird, probably the sweetest bird I have, if not I've ever met.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Are you trying to go see Lady? He looked like he was looking.
Yeah. thinking about it.
Looking at Lady.
Let's not
Jay,
do
you
that.
had a question and I missed it. Where'd it go? And of course, can they tolerate cooler temperatures? There it is. Can they handle cooler temperatures?
Some birds can. Europe is actually really strong in aviculture, and there are breeders that have outdoor aviaries where there is snow. Now, the difference is those birds are acclimated to it, and they can go outside, but they can also come back in.
Okay.
So, they're very, very sensitive to drafts. Personally, I think cockatoos, from what I've heard, do better in colder weather. And I've lived in cold weather states with birds, but I think macaws are just very sensitive to cold weather, and I wouldn't recommend it for a macaw.
Right.
But, I've seen obviously take their birds to snow short term, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But it depends. Drafts, I'm more worried about the wind chill than anything.
Right. Yeah. The drafts can be a problem. They can be a problem. Snake Man Pat, I see you. Thank you for joining us. Brandon asks, when birds stress and pluck their feathers, do they eventually grow back? Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Yeah, so birds pluck their feathers for a number of reasons. But yes, it can be stress. It can be other things too, like a fungal infection on the skin or internal pain that they're just plucking the feather as a way to cope with pain. Feathers absolutely grow back. They're just a modified hair follicle, right?
Right.
But those follicles can also get damaged. So if a bird plucks too much and the follicle is damaged, they may not regrow at all.
Right. And Lori Law has a umbrella that is protective of her grandson. Oh, how do you manage him being protective of your grandson?
Him being protective. So the bird's protective of the grandson when I try to put him to bed and he will bite. So it's really hard to diagnose bird behavior on a format like this because sometimes you have to observe. Like there might be something that's happening that she doesn't see just because she doesn't know like what to look for.
Mm-hmm.
Umbrella cockatoos are probably the poster child for mismanaging their emotions.
Yes.
They can often feel like something is their mate or someone is their mate when that is not the case. And what it's caused by is they're unique from other birds in that they stay with their parents pretty much their whole lives until they pair up themselves.
Uh-huh.
And even then, they stay really close. Oh, we lost a feather. Don't worry, it'll grow back. So I'd be interested in watching that behavior to see, is this protecting a nest? Is this protecting a chick? Is this, breeding behavior that's coming out somehow?
Right.
At the end of the day, what I'll tell you is that birds, the more they do something, the more they do it. And that happens for not doing something too. You can set the bird up for success by not having it in that situation, right? So as I understand it, the grandson's going to bed is how I understood the question.
Yeah.
So like have the bird up before then, before he has to witness that, so that it can't become a routine.
Brandon calling that some Twilight stuff. The bird imprinted on the grandson. That's some Twilight stuff. That's funny, Brandon. That is funny, Brandon.
My favorite movie reference for birds is from Avatar, where they go get on those like flying creatures, and they're like, it's gonna try to kill you, but if it doesn't, it'll bond to you. And I'm like, that's what a parrot is.
And that's what an umbrella cockatoo is. I almost got one of those too. My ex talked me out of it.
They're awesome. They're one of those red flag species for me. I think there probably has something to do with how they're raised, because I've seen amazing individuals, but when we look at the numbers, most people struggle with them.
Yeah, they what are they called? Velcro birds, Velcro parrots.
Well, male eclectus are Velcro parrots. I call them stage 5 clingers. They are the randiest birds. They just, man, they can't stop. They're crazy.
Oh, she's having trouble when she's putting her bird away, not putting the grandson to bed.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Well, so the first thing I do is train the bird to step up on a perch, either a T perch or a dowel, and then get him in bed. I call it put him in bed like a pizza, like you put a pizza in a brick oven. That way, the bite that he's giving you, because he's training you, right? He bites and you react, and then he's like, cool, that got me a little extra time or whatever.
Yeah.
We take away that option, not in a mean way, but just in a way where that input doesn't work anymore.
There's not much there to preen. I don't know.
Latching here, yeah. Oh no. Mwah. I wish I could do some fun tricks for you, but for Finn, he's just he's that like toddler stage.
Yeah.
Where the world is his plaything, and he's just fun to watch.
He is fun to watch. He is. I could watch Hyacinth McCall all day.
Yeah.
I could watch him all day.
He's a very special guy. I could probably have other birds, but he's like Lady. It's not that he's a hyacinth, it's that he's Finn.
Yeah.
Right? There's something special about him.
And he knows he's in the right house.
Yeah. Yeah, he was going home and he was being pretty naughty. And I was, he would come back here and I'm like, no, we don't have any of those issues. We're fine.
Wow.
So again, it's the issue of input. I think that his family their situation was different. Their schedule was different. Their house was different, right? Here he's one of 13 macaws. So he's never lonely. But there was an Amazon, but not his friend, doesn't want his friend. And then they have a different schedule. Their kids are different ages. He was getting into trouble. He was doing hood rat stuff with his friends.
My husband has learned not to fix the cockatoo cage with the bird in it. Yeah, that's that's something you would learn fairly quick.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of times they tend to think of their cage as a nest, and that's where a lot of behavior becomes bad. So sometimes people say, "Oh, that bird's mean," and I'm like, "Just take it out of the cage and get it out of the cage, get it into a neutral territory, a room that it's not used to, and the bird's perfectly fine."
Yep.
Because it's a setting thing.
And that can be said for dogs, snakes,
Sure.
All types of animals. So yeah, that's that.
Yeah. And there's also desensitization, right? So I've mentioned that I kept reptiles before. My water dragon was awesome and anybody could handle it. But I had it from a young age and I would desensitize it daily. And so it was just used to what I was going to put it through.
Right. He's such a ham. He's like, look how pretty I am.
Look at this, everybody. He sees himself on the screen over here, but then on the camera too. So he's like, where are all these beautiful birds coming from? Where are they?
Oh, thank you for reminding me. You mentioned camera. Elias had asked what kind of camera you're using because it's very crisp.
So I am using a Sony ZV-1. And then I'm using a 20 millimeter G Master lens.
Elias, that's your talk. I don't understand a thing he said, but I know you do.
I have a bunch of cameras. If you watch my content, sometimes it's from the phone, sometimes it's from different cameras, and it's all about the glass. That's where it all comes from.
Yes, Elias, I do wonder what they're saying too sometimes when they're all chattering. And you have green wing macaws too?
I do have a green wing macaw, and then I've got a few hybrids that are, half or a quarter or whatever it might be of green wing.
That's my other favorite, the green wing. Of course, the two biggest macaws are my two.
Yeah, sure. My green wing just had a breakthrough this week, and my video was terrible, but it was so her behavior was such that I didn't want to lose the content. But I took in a green wing whose father had died. It went to a bird farm and just didn't really get along with any man, any woman, or any bird yet.
Oh wow!
It had been a few years, and so after the hurricane, they were trying to. Microphone. After the hurricane, they were trying to make some space because they had a lot of damage and a lot of the aviaries were destroyed. So I took home this green wing, and it took 10 months, but she recently saw me roughhousing with the hyacinths and decided that was what she wanted. So she was shy and timid, like did not want you to touch her at all. But then when she saw us roughhousing, she decided that she wanted to play that game.
There you go. What's up, Jared? Another weekend warrior. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you. Well, there you go. Nice little breakthrough for her. That's real sweet. Well, Zeb, we have what's up, Jared? I see you. We have come up to our hour. I certainly appreciate you. You you filled my heart today with these birds. They're so beautiful, and you're doing such a great job with them. And if you can just let everybody know where to find you, because I know they're going to want to see what's going on with everybody. All 42 that we're not hearing in the beginning. He has 42 parrots that he.
Yeah. So thanks for having me. I appreciate you inviting me to this. You can find me on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram as Blue Planet Pets. And if you choose to go to Facebook, I'm just out under my name, Zeb Ernest.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, I thank you. The chat was blowing up today. Thank you all for being here. You were all wonderful. You were all great guests. Asked some great questions. We appreciate that. And I saw a lot of new faces today. So I don't know if they're all followers of you, Zeb, but thank you for bringing the new people in. We certainly appreciate that. And again, Zeb, thank you for being here. Finn and Lady Bird, thank you for being here today. I made them all blue. Come back. Yes, come back. There's lots of content on the Whiskey Bomb Network. You find something different every day of the week, from cooking shows to outdoor shows to reptile shows to pet shows to anime shows. There's all kinds, something different every week. So, or every day rather. So make sure you come back, the new folks, and come back and check us out. And speaking of coming back, next week might be my biggest influencer guest, and she's actually the first person that I thought of when I came up with having this podcast, and she's finally coming on. So make sure you join us next week, as our guest is Abby, the curly-haired keeper. She will be the guest on Everyday Keeper. So be sure to join us and stay tuned today. You know, we got the FNA has Sunday Snaketuary at 4 p.m. and Breeding for the Future at 7 p.m. this evening. So make sure you stick with us for the other shows coming out today. And again, Zeb, thank you for joining us today. Awesome content. I love watching your videos. So you'll be hearing from me again, but thank you for joining us. Don't go anywhere. Stay where you are. Everyone in the chat, thank you for being here today. We certainly appreciate all of you. Make sure you're hitting that like button and hitting the subscribe button if you haven't already subscribed. Right now, we are live on my channel, so if you're not over there yet, head over there, hit the like button, and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Uptown_exotics, exotics spelled Xotix. Mitzi, thank you. I see you. Everybody have a great weekend. Or the weekend's over, but have a have a great day. Be yourself. Believe in who you are. If you don't believe in yourself, why should anyone else? I love you. Have an awesome week. Peace and be wild.
Dearly beloved, we are here to talk about this thing called keepers. Keeper means forever, and forever is a mighty long time.